If you ever opened a plugin and thought, I know what this is called, but I don't actually know what to do with it, this video is for you. Today, I'm breaking down the most important audio effects used in modern mixing, what problems they solve, and the exact ranges and settings I use. Without overcomplicating things, we'll go effect by effect, fix real problems, and I'll end everything so you can actually hear the difference. Let's get on it. Okay, now for our first effect, we are going to start with EQ. EQ is used to shape the tone of a sound by controlling specific frequency ranges. It helps you remove what you don't need and highlight what actually matters. Most professional mixes rely more on subtractive EQ than boosting. One of the most common vocal problems is a vocal that sounds muddy, boxy, or unclear, even when it's loud enough. That usually means unnecessary frequencies are stacking up. Now, let me show you how to fix such problems if you do come across them using this audio effect. Okay, guys, so this is how our vocal first sounds like. You have a vocal that is boxy, that is also unclear, also sounding a little bit muddy, guys. So to fix this, we're going to go to our mixer track and we have an EQ here, just like we explained. This EQ is for subtractive EQing, meaning we are eliminating things that are not needed in the vocal. Now, this is how the vocal was sounding like just now. Now, after taming some of the things that are problem frequencies in this vocal, the vocal now sounds like this. In most cases, these things are subtle, but they make a huge change when you're using the EQ right, guys. So once you feel like your vocal is becoming a little bit thinner or your vocal has just changed the tone totally, just know that you have done something wrong in the subtractive EQ. Here we are not changing the tone of the vocal. Here we are subtracting what doesn't deserve to be in that vocal. For instance, we subtracted around 372 hertz. I didn't like this, it was too boxy for me, and those boxy frequencies sometimes they can mess up with the mix. And we did a lot of things like doing harsh cuts here. When you boost this thing, it sounds like your vocal have some plosive like or some, harsh sounds like that does not deserve to be in the vocal. Best way to fix such problems is to use an EQ, guys. Vocals are different and mic selections are also different. You must always listen to the vocal, scout the frequencies that you think are not the best for that vocal, and then use an EQ to tame out those frequencies. Now, at times you can use more than just EQs. You can use things like Suit 2 to even tame some resonances, or use something like Many Triple D to actually go even deeper in actually taming frequencies that you don't like in a specific vocal. Now, let's say your vocal is sounding good. Now, you have tamed things that you don't like in a vocal. You have done the step of subtractive EQing and it's perfect, guys. Now it's time to go to the next step. And usually the next step after EQing, you can start boosting the vocal. You can start shaping the tone of the vocal, and shaping the tone of the vocal, you are using an EQ, guys. And now we are not using the EQ that you just used. We are using a different kind of EQ, a different type of EQ. The EQ that lets you use your ears more than your eyes, guys, because we have used our eyes. We have selected frequencies that you don't like in the vocal and it has worked. Now it's time to use our ears because music is listened using ears. So for our next effect, we are going to use an SSL channel strip EQ, guys. It can be any SSL channel strip EQ. Now, after using your SSL EQ to tonally shape your vocal, this is how your vocal will actually sound like. Now that the tone is controlled, let's manage the dynamics. Now, when we are talking about dynamics, we're actually talking about compression, guys. Now, compression is for control and consistency, guys. Compression controls volume changes, so the vocal stays consistent and upfront. It doesn't make vocals louder. It makes them more controlled. Now, most vocals have peaks that jump out and quiet parts that disappears. Now, as you can see that this vocal is a great vocal. Everything is loud enough. You can actually see that everything is loud enough, but there are some parts of the vocal that are not even, guys. In most cases, those parts are certain sounds that the artists make when they are recording their music, guys. Now, in working on them, we'll use this beautiful compressor. This one, guys. So here we are using an FG116 compressor. Now we have our input at around 30. We have our output at around -16. And then we have our attack at around 5.69. And then the release at 7. So these are fast release and fast attack. Now I am using this compressor specifically because it's one of the compressors that are best for specifically this job, guys. Use this compressor to tame the loudest sounds in the vocal. Now, as we have set it like this, we have a ratio at around 12, meaning that this vocal has a lot of frequencies that are above the ratio that we have set here. These compressors are mostly and popularly known for fast attack and fast release. Even on the slower settings, they are still fast, guys. So that is why I'm using this compressor so that it can quickly work on those frequencies that are above the threshold or above the ratio that we are going for. Now, it sounds good. And as a bonus, if you want to overall glue the vocal, use another compressor, guys. Now, this compressor that you are using now, we are making sure now that the vocal first is sounding up front in the mix and all the words of the vocal are actually being heard, guys. That is why we used this compressor. It's a bass compressor, guys, and this is how it sounds like with my bass compressor gluing the overall mix of the vocal. Now, with this compressor, the vocal sounds a little bit loud. The vocal sounds a little bit, like it has some life on it. That is why we do serial compression. That is why you must use compression for every mix that you are doing. Now, for our next effect. That I know for sure that it is popular and most producers are actually using it. We're going to use saturation, guys. Now, what is saturation? Saturation adds harmonics, making vocals feel fuller and more present. This is about energy and less likely distortion, but you all know that compression also brings about some distortion on your vocal. This vocal is actually sounding nice already, but let's say you want to add some spices, you want to add some color on the vocal. Now that is where you would use a saturation plugin. This is our saturation plugin. We are using Filter Setting 2. On this saturation, you don't need to do a multi-band saturation like this unless you have to. For my side, I had to, but this thing, with just having this thing on your vocal, it actually works on your vocal. You can actually play with the drive if you want to play with the drive, or go to the modes here where you can actually choose what type of saturation you are going for. So for us, we are going for a warm tape saturation, and this is how it sounds like. It depends on the sound you are going for. Now, for our next effect that you're going to use on this vocal, we are going to use a multi-band compressor. A multi-band compressor lets you control specific ranges independently, guys. This is powerful when one part of the vocal is misbehaving, and the most part that is misbehaving for us is that top clarity, guys, is that air part of the vocal. And to fix that without using a de-esser, let's use a multiband compressor instead. This is how it sounds like with the multiband compressor involved. Now, we've been mixing this vocal all along, and the vocal is like something is missing. And in most cases, these are some of the most important effects that you need to have on your vocals. You can't have a vocal without these effects unless it maybe you're mixing, broadcasting vocals, something like a podcast or a voiceover or something else. But when you're mixing a song, these two effects always important. We're talking about reverb, guys. You need reverb on your vocal. Now, what does reverb do? Reverb places your vocal in an environment, guys. And too much of it, the vocal might disappear. And too little of it, your vocal might feel dry. After using a reverb, your vocal will need some width and rhythm, guys. You must use a delay. Now, the simple definition of a delay. The delay will add rhythm and width without pushing the vocal back. Now, this is a perfect example for this. Let's go to our vocal. This is a room reverb. Sounds like this. And then after my room reverb, we have a short reverb. And after my short reverb, I have a long reverb. Now, to add some rhythm and width, you must use delays, guys. Now, delay for this vocal or for this song, we are going to use a 1/8 delay, the 8th delay. Now we have an environment for our vocal and we have some rhythm on our vocal. Now, talking about stereo imaging. Now, here we are talking about the wideness of elements in the mix, guys. In this case, we're talking about vocals. How wide you want your vocals to be in a mix. We're going to use a doubler for my waves. You can use any doubler plugin. It works wonders. Without? With it? As you saw, guys, taking a mono vocal to sounding a stereo vocal. It's not necessarily mono, guys, but for this video, let's say it's mono. And then the last effect that most producers use, they use a limiter, guys. Now, what is a limiter? A limiter prevents clipping and catches unexpected peaks. This is our song without a limiter. Now, this is our song with a limiter. Now, this thing for this song is actually working on turning that kick and snare, nothing else, guys. Making sure that that kick is not too loud or too harsh when the song is playing on different sound systems. Now, these are the core audio effects used in almost every professional mix. If you understand what problem each one solves, mixing becomes much easier. Now, if this helped you, check out my full-length mixing videos and my newly released FL Studio stock presets and template bundle out now on our store. Everything here was built using that workflow. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.